Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Muse Arts Artist Holistic Wellness Series as part of the Ties to Community programming. My name is Veronica, and I'll be the mediator for tonight's session. For those who are new, the Artist Holistic Wellness Series invites artists who have knowledge on specific topics to engage in sessions designed to hold space for artists and communities to discuss and share perspectives on the proposed themes. This year, as you know, we are back and better than ever discussing the holistic medium of music, especially how music can be used as a tool for healing, as a tool for creating space, and as a tool for resistance. As you all know, today is our last session of Artist Talks, and indeed it will be a special one. Before we continue, I would like to take a moment to acknowledge the land we are situated upon. We recognize that we work and live on traditional Indigenous territories. I also wish to acknowledge that I'm currently located on the Indigenous traditional territories of the Huron-Wendat, the Haudenosaunee, and most recently the Mississaugas of the Credit. I also wish to express gratitude to Mother Earth for the resources we are using, and I would like to honor all the First Nation, Métis, and Inuit people who have been living on this land since time immemorial. For tonight's session, we're exploring the topic of resistance through music. We're going to discuss how musical and social elements intertwine, how artists are creating space for communities through their crafts, and how music can be used as a tool for resistance. Feel free to use the comment section down below throughout the live to share your experiences, your thoughts, and your opinions throughout the whole session. Without further ado, I introduce today's special guest, Natasha Roldán. Natasha is a Colombian singer, songwriter based in Toronto, whose vocals draw from the influences of jazz and traditional Latin American and European music. Natasha, I welcome you into the space and allow you to introduce yourself further.
Hello, thank you so much for having me here. This is a great space, great topics of conversation, and I'm very happy to share my experience. My name is Natasha Roldán. I am a singer, a songwriter, and I love traditional Latin American music, also perform jazz. Um, yeah.
Amazing. It's such an honor to have you in the space today. Thank you so much for being here. And I just want to get started with how it all started all the way back. How did your musical journey begin? Like your age, the background, like how did it all start?
Well, every time I'm asked this question, I always refer back to a story that my mom told me when I was a baby and she was changing my diapers. She was singing something to me. And my first words were not just talking, it was responding to the song that she was singing. So I kind of like sang what she was singing. So I think that I've been singing since I was born. Um, it is a huge part of me. My family, however, was not a musical family, so like music education was not uh, like on site. No one in my family was a musician. I do have memories of my father singing very beautifully. I think he had a great voice, and a lot of my connection with my father was through music. Um, and Yeah, I never grew up with like lessons or anything like that. I started like I guess my formal music education much older, while after graduating high school and like going to college.
Right.
That was a rough patch because uh, I wanted to study music. Like throughout my, like when I was growing up, I was always singing. So I was the first one in every contest. I was the first one in school to like form a band and like perform in every like choir situation and stuff like that. But it was never something that I thought could be a career. Um, and After I graduated and I was older, I wanted to go to college, but I had no idea of anything related to music theory. So I knew I was not gonna make it to university
Mhm.
without this type of knowledge. But there was this kind of like college where I went, and I remember going into the exam room, and they gave me like this page with like music stuff, and I'm like, I don't know anything. I know like C major, that's it. And so obviously like I my exam was pretty much blank, but then there was like the performing part of it, and I sang. And the guy was like, okay, I'm gonna let you, like start. Obviously like this wasn't as big as going into a university. It was much more relaxed. And that's how I started. And I started in that college, and I started learning all the theory and stuff like that. It was tough because everyone around me had already studied music since they were kids. They already played instruments. They already knew how to read music. I was a disaster. It was so stressful. It was like a lot of pressure. It was very competitive. Um, but then I had wonderful teachers, so they made everything easier. And I started learning about jazz. And I thought jazz was such a great tool for me to find kind of like, I guess, my voice, my sound. Um, and yeah, and it went from there. And, like after, obviously, like I moved to Canada, I also like I finally went to like an actual university and studied music. Same thing. It's I think music is hard. I don't think it's like in the academic sense.
Yeah.
But I did that, and then I started a master's, and yeah, and while all of during all of that, obviously I was performing and singing here and there and learning a bunch of stuff.
That's amazing. Yeah, it's really clear that you've been a singer, a songwriter since you were a kid, and I want to know what your motivation for pursuing music, like academically and professionally, was.
Um, I think it was maybe the curiosity of never being exposed to music formally before, and thinking that I really wanted to be a good singer, and I wanted, like uh, be able to be on stage and sing well and not be uh, like, I guess, out of tune, or things like that. Like it started with that. Like I want to be a good singer. And then I want to communicate stuff, but I don't have the tools and resources. I don't know how to play an instrument. I'm still not great at it, but like now I can sit and use it to write my stuff. But because these things were not like, singing was organic for me, and always was there, and I did it all the time. But the rest of it was not. The rest of it was very foreign, I guess, very something that I never saw. I
Mm.
did not have that example at home. No one played an instrument. Um, and same thing, right? I guess because my parents were not related to that world, I don't think they had in their heads like, oh, actually, music education is a thing. Maybe let's take this kid that's singing all the time and put her in classes. That never
Right.
happened.
Mhm.
Like it wasn't something. And I guess in school, we had a music class, and there was like the choir and things like that, but it was just more activities that you did, not something that was serious. um, and I think it was more like, okay, what is this about? I need to learn more about this thing that I really like. When I went to college, but this is back in Colombia. um, I first was going to study sound engineering, and because I thought, okay, like that's a more normal career, maybe I can find a job during doing this. And it had like the engineering word.
Mhm.
And right when I was sitting at the office, when I was going to sign the paper to, like, I guess, enroll myself, uh I did not choose that, and I signed for music. And my mom was like, oh, okay. She never said no. It was just a surprise because I was going somewhere else. But I said, you know what, I really want to do this and I want to learn.
Nice. So that was your first step. It was kind of like an intuition, a body intuition where it's like, you know what? No, change the papers. I'm signing somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing. I want to start with also, like, now that you, of course, you've developed and you've grown as a musician, I want to know what opportunities your musical career has granted you.
Uh, a lot. So parallel to my music career and path and learning, I started building a career, I guess, in the cultural sector and in arts administration. This is something that, so when I came to Canada and moved to Toronto, I started doing this program that was called independent music production. And it was, like about learning how to produce music on your own without any resources, pretty much, which was my case. I moved here alone, with my partner, but we were like very young, and like there was no, we didn't know anyone. It was like there was no family, no friends, no nothing. So we started from absolutely zero. And so I thought, okay, I need to learn what the music scene here is about, and also I need to support myself. But I didn't want to support myself just working in a, like retail, which I did as well, but at the beginning, but like retail or like food or stuff like that. I didn't think that this was something that was good for me, because it was, like, yeah, you can get paid and then you leave, but what else is out there? So
Right.
I thought, okay, I need to learn more about the, I guess, the business, how culture works in Canada. And I started doing internships, and I started talking to professors and learning things here and there. And it eventually landed me jobs in the industry. Um, One of the jobs that I loved the most, that I did for many, many years, was working with nonprofit and in a community radio station. Um, I met so many amazing people there. I was able to be heard, to talk about my experience. I was able to input my experience in the programs and processes that were done over there. We had an amazing program that uh, helped people that wanted to be in media to, like, develop um, their skills in radio. And um, so I was part of, like, designing and participating in these programs that were like different workshops and classes for people from different places, mostly the Caribbean diaspora and Caribbean community, which is marginalized. There were also Latin American people, and I started learning a bunch of things. I learned that we shared very similar experiences, um, in terms of the difficulties of getting ahead in life in a system that is not very fair across, like across the line, I guess, across the border. I don't know how to say that, but I did a lot of uh, workshops that were based on anti-oppression. Um, and what connected everyone in the room every time I did one of those workshops was music. Everyone was interested, like, in music. We wanted to be at the radio station because it was pretty cool, because the music that they played there was pretty cool. And then we had like these music listening sessions where everyone would bring their favorite artists and we would talk about it. And it was in a setting where it was very diverse. Um, and everyone had very different lived experiences, and at the same time very similar, because we all came from somewhere else. We were not these, like, and we were on a land that is stolen, and we were on we were acknowledging that, and we were acknowledging our struggles, and this was all a connection through music. And I think my music knowledge obviously also landed me those types of roles, because they required someone who also could speak, like about music and developing all of these things. um, yeah, I think I was a little bit all over the place just remembering that, but um, it was a great experience. And pretty much all of the roles and experiences that I've had in the path, I guess in the arts administration path, have been with that in mind. um, I think that there are certain roles that need people who can reflect and try to apply change to certain things that are not working for society, because when certain members of society are not successful, none of us are successful.
Right. That's okay. That's very, very interesting.
I don't know if I went like too far,
No,
but
no, 100%.
experience
It's
that.
yeah, no, it's very, very nice to hear how this was granted to you because of your knowledge and your experiences, right? It was almost like gifted to you. It's like the universe is giving you this opportunity and you made something out of it. You created space for community and you created space for perspective exchange and all that. And just like yeah, a sense of community through music, through your craft, right? Like that's the most amazing part. It wasn't like doing something you're not good at, or you it was foreign to you. It was something new to you, and you got to connect with so many people. So thank you so much for sharing that experience. I also want to know, how else have you created the community through your craft? Like you said, of course, like the workshops and the facilitation. What else have you done?
um yeah, I think I don't know if I would, I guess, attribute myself uh creating a community. Rather, I would like to say that I am part of a community that um, misses their land, that misses their culture, food, the family, the connections. Um, I started, uh, like one part of it was performing jazz and doing these things, and uh, that granted me connections with other people. And at the same time, there was this other part with, for example, the project of Songs to Travel the World, where I wanted to explore the most beautiful songs from anywhere. Uh, and I started, um, like when I performed these songs in places, people came up to me and they were like, "Oh, like that reminds me of home."
Mm.
So rather than, like creating a space, I think I was just like part of it. Being Colombian specifically is something that carries a very heavy weight. um, I started noticing that when I was performing these songs, because it was, like there was Brazilian songs and there was some Colombian songs and Argentinian songs and things like that. But I started noticing in myself that when I was performing these songs, I could not just not talk about where these songs came from. And it was not, like, it was something very organic. It wasn't me like planning, I'm gonna teach you this and that. It was more like, I'm singing this song from this country, and right now this country is going through a very tough situation, thanks to a lot of political things happening. And I guess we need to remember that Latin America has always been kind of like, uh, I guess, a victim, I guess, of the biggest countries in the world. We receive a lot of the problems that they create for us, and there is a lot of that creates a lot of political unrest and social issues, and like this is like a bigger thing. But I started realizing when I'm singing these songs, I cannot just not talk about it. I cannot just see, like stand there and be like, yeah, this song comes from Colombia, enjoy. No, right
Mm-hmm.
now in Colombia, they are killing people. The police is killing people. These and these things are happening, and there's always happening something in Latin America, always. And I had to tell people, I had to say, you know what, please go read something, go watch the news, because people don't know what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
um, and a lot of it, these countries like Canada, unfortunately, are responsible for it. The mining companies, and then and yeah, there's a lot of things. This is like a very difficult conversation, but back to what I was saying, I just couldn't not say anything. I just had to share and at least tell people, you know what, this beautiful music comes from these places, and please uh, inform yourselves of what's happening back home.
Amazing. Yeah. So it sounds like you were kind of advocating for these countries, right? And bringing knowledge to these people. Like when they went to, see your performance, they weren't just getting the musical aspect, but they were also getting the social justice aspect of the countries and of the songs or where it come from. And like in a sense, you were also paying like tribute to these countries, right? And like recognizing the struggles and the communities that are within these countries, and how it kind of produced this music, right? Because a lot of the correct me if I'm wrong, but a lot of like old um Latin American music was kind of, I want to say, used as like as a tool for social justice and resistance, right? Like a lot of it came from that. It came from struggle. It didn't come from, let's just sit around and be all happy. No, it came from the struggles, and it kind of translate. And I see how this is all intertwined. And I was about to ask how, social elements and politics are intertwined with music, but I feel like you just answered that, and you gave us a perfect example of that. Maybe you want to touch a little bit more on how they're actually all connected.
Yeah, definitely. The thing with music is that it is democratic, because I think that everyone can make music. So in that sense, it does become political.
Right.
Um, you have a voice, or if you don't, you have your hands or your feet or whatever. You can make noise with this, and this noise can be transformed into something else. Like, just, what is that? And then what am I going to say, right? Um, and in Another thing that music has is that I think music never dies, and it and uh, I guess, to be different from other forms of art that also do the same thing, music can be transmitted through oral tradition, or orally, right? Once a song comes out of my mouth and it's in your brain and you remember it, um, then you can pass it on to another person and another person and another person. I think when there is oppression and when there is governments that want to eliminate people, um, they are not just thinking of killing a person, they are killing ideas, and they are killing a whole system of belief and a whole culture. That's why it is so important that um, that these traditions and culture keeps going from person to person. Um, when, like, for example, in Canada, when uh, they said this horrible thing on residential schools about, like, killing the Indian. This is horrific, but they were not just trying to get rid of a person, an individual. They were trying to get rid of everything that is attached to it, all of the culture, the music, the beliefs, the traditions, the values, the set of values. And thankfully, this has been saved. That's why it's so important that people continue replicating these things. Everyone, like in their own cultures and things like that, and very respectfully. But um, music stands time. It's timeless. It is there. Once a song is out and it's and you learn it, you can teach it to someone else, and then that person can teach it to someone else, and it's there. It's alive. It's all. That's why we still listen to music from like many years ago, and we relive it. And then if we have the element of recording, we can still hear people that have already died. They are still living in that music. So
For
yeah.
sure. And even like the elements and the beats used in traditions way back then are still used in today's music, right? And they're kind
Oh,
of just like just twisted into our own perspective and our own struggles, and it's amazing to hear about this. And it's great that you brought up the part that music never dies, and it doesn't, right? And there's a reason why we say we can't live without music, because born through music and we continue to do so throughout our lives. We have the experience that, even if I, like, for example, like personally, I'm not a musician, I'm not a songwriter, I don't produce, but I have the experience and the privilege to hear what you have to say, right? To hear about your vocals, or a band, or a song that just came out. I have the privilege to kind of interpret what you're trying to tell me and what you're trying to show the world. So there's always going to be that exchange, and it's always that, like, I've said it in like multiple sessions already. There's this underlining connection between everybody that listens to music, right? It's like you're trying to tell me a story, I listen to it, I interpret it, and then I share that knowledge. So it's just like an even exchange all throughout. So
yeah,
it's
and actually, sorry, what you're saying there is very important, because that means that um, music can exist not only through time, but uh, in multiple universes at the same time. This means that if I write a song that means something to me and the song is out there, and then you interact with this song and you listen to it, then the song is not going to have the same meaning for me as it will for you, because you will adapt this song to your experiences, and you will relate to this song in a very different way that I do. Even though I intended to write a song about something, you can find other meanings. And this means that this music is existing at the same time in multiple universes, you know?
100%. Yeah.
So it is something that is just,
So
you can stop
powerful.
it. It is
Yeah.
very powerful and you cannot stop it.
100%. Yeah, it's really nice that we're highlighting these aspects, because throughout the whole like series of artist talks, we've kind of been touching upon, the powerful and holistic effects of music. And it's kind of good to see how, like, this is our last episode, so it's kind of nice to like wrap and summarize everything up in these few words. And knowing this, I want to know how you and your personal experience have used music as a tool for resistance. Of course, we can hear about a lot of examples.
Um, yeah, I think because music is so personal to me, and it's just, like carrying myself in different places as myself. Um, I can think of, like, for example, I one time I was on the streetcar and it was very late. I was leaving work, and it was like, I think about like 11 p.m. or something. And I was talking on the phone with my boyfriend, because I was, like, it's late, it's scary,
Mhm.
and I was speaking in Spanish, and this guy didn't like it, and he attacked me, and it was very scary. Um, and then I thought, like I can bring music in my language uh, out there, and I can stand on stage and sing in Spanish, and this guy would probably not like it. Um, and things like that. And I don't know. I think that every time I have an opportunity for singing, whether it is in a private space of my home or whether I'm sharing it with someone, um, I'm sharing a part of myself. Uh, I'm being very vulnerable. Uh, and I think other people can relate to that too. Um, yeah, I don't know if I answered your question, but
No, you definitely did. Yeah, it's just it's it's really nice to see how even in countries that are so multicultural and stuff, we're still facing a lot of barriers as immigrants, and to see how you can use your music and your voice, and that's not stopping you at all. You're continuing with your truth and your language and your culture, and you're still going to sing in Spanish no matter what. And you're kind of living through these experiences by vocalizing in Spanish, and not just conforming to, like, oh well, people might not listen to my Spanish music, let me try to go more into English music, let me try to adapt to the culture. You said no, I'm not going to do that, and let me continue with my culture, let me continue representing my home and my people through my music. So I think that's exactly what resistance is, right? Through the oppression, through the discrimination, that's what it is.
yeah, I don't like. I wouldn't necessarily say that I am not going to, like sing in English because I
Of
already
course.
did. I already, like released an EP that was fully in English. Um, I think it's more than I'm sharing a part of myself and being very vulnerable when I'm performing and when I'm singing or when I'm sharing these things, because at the end of the day it is me with the flaws and with the things I still have to learn and with the things I already know. uh, it is me, and it's there, it's out there, right? And I think we all do it, like in like all the time. You're existing in your body, you're existing in you're taking some space, and you're learning from other people that are also in that space, and then you're sharing that space. um yeah, that makes me think of a lot of things, but
For sure. Yeah, the conversation we're having right now, it goes deeper into
oh
so
yeah,
many other
yeah.
aspects, right? That, like, we could stay here for 3 hours and we still wouldn't get to the depths of this. But
Mhm.
it's just so good to highlight and have these conversations. I think that's the first step in anything, just like bringing up discussion. And like, even for the people watching this right now, there's some perspectives that maybe they never thought about, right? And maybe there's different ways in which they view music that they never really understood. And just having these conversations and listening to these conversations might open up a different perspective on a lot of situations. So I think it's very important that we're having this conversation right now. I also wanted to ask how the social context of your experience kind of helps you, like, produce your music and formulate like how you're going to do your shows. Like, what is the journey and the process of that?
I think that everything that I've done so far has been very organic. um I do have to, like say that having a music career hasn't been easy, especially when you are, again, alone in a country where there's no, like, your whole support system is not, my whole support system is not here. So first, I have had to do a lot of things that have taken away from me doing music to be able to support myself and to uh, kind of like be able to help my family back home. So I don't think that I've had the opportunity to fully think through uh, the artistic part of everything that I want to do, nor the resources either. But I think everything has been very organic, and it does have like the everything that I've done has helped me think of where I want to go. There are things that I haven't done yet that I hope I can do soon, and you know that's that's reserved, but we'll see. Um, but it has all been part of a difficult journey. So yeah, like I said, it has been very organic. Like I was mentioning before, if I'm doing this show for Songs to Travel the World, and I'm talking about sharing these songs, it was organic for me to say, hey, this is happening in the country where this music came from, and things like that. I do wish that I had like more time and opportunities to be able to fully do that, because I do have many ideas on how I would like to do things. Yeah, the reality is that it is not easy to have a music career. And the more that I've been in the industry learning about it, the more I see how difficult it is. And if you don't have a support system, and if you don't have a like the luxury and the privilege of devoting a lot of time to it, then the challenges are huge, very very big.
Of course, I can imagine. And how do you, like, through your experience, of course, and your opinions, how do you think the musical industry in Toronto is? Like, is it very supporting? Even the Latin American community, how have you found support through that?
um I think it's strange because it's kind of like a small scene, but at the same time it's big. I've seen that everyone knows each other from like from the jobs that I've had, and everyone like recognizes this person from here and there, and things like that. uh, it is also very hard to be a part of it. um, you do have to be very very proactive, uh, and that becomes tough, because if you don't have the resources or the time to be constantly proactive and involved and doing things, and going and meeting people and all of that, then you're kind of like out of the game.
Mm-hmm.
um, and the Latin American community is something that uh, I think it's very recent for me to be more related to the Latin American community. I've had, um, because of everything that's happening, like back home, I've been able to participate in, I guess, demonstrations for peace, um, for Colombia, and I've met people there, and I've been able to work with like other Latin America's associations that are, like are doing work for Latin and Hispanic people in Canada. Um, yeah, it's all been like a discovery process. Um, the like I remember before the pandemic, there was this event organized for like the Women's International Women's Day, and I went there and I sang a couple of songs, and it felt so heartwarming, because these were like a lot of like older women there, and I felt like I was singing to my aunts,
Oh,
and to my family, and everyone at the end was like, oh my god, you guys are so great, and like they came in and hugged you and things like that, and I was like, oh my god, this feels like I'm performing for my family. um yeah, it's been a long process of trying to know meet people and trying to find places where you can be. um Being at the university as well, it's kind of like it was great, but it can also be a little bit, I guess, isolating, because you're there all the time and you meet the people that you're, like all the other students and things like that, and they are not necessarily tied to, like the Latin American community and things like that. So yeah,
right.
it's been a tough one navigating that and meeting people and doing that. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it's the process, right? Of
Mm.
anything that you want to achieve, there's always going to be the ups and downs, and the heartwarming, like it was like, even like when you were explaining that situation and that feeling of home in a sense, right? The older ladies gave to you, and the performing and the interaction, it's just like, you know, that's the gratification you get from doing what you do. And it was just like you transmitted that energy through the screen, and then I felt that energy just as you were telling me the story, and like I envisioned myself there kind of feeling that way, and I was like, wow, like this is what music does, and this is what music can create. So thank you so much for sharing that experience. And I just want to end off the session by just asking you, like, I know we kind of went through it already, but I want to kind of just summarize how music can be used as a holistic a medium, as a tool for healing. Like, how in your experience has that happened for you?
um I think music, like I said before, music is part of our body. Our first instrument is like our body. And music produces vibrations, and we vibrate, and our heart beats to a certain rhythm. Um, so music is a healer. Music is revolutionary. Music uh, can be dark. Music um, can bring you memories that are painful, but you're not in that moment again. So you're just kind of like remembering these painful things, but you're not being hurt again uh, by this pain. But it can be nostalgic. It can be. I think music is everything and it's everywhere. You can't communicate with people through music. It is what makes the world go round. Um, yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, that was exactly what needed to be said, and that kind of summarized the whole holistic part of it, and how important and powerful it is in our lives and the lives of so many people on a daily basis. Natasha, thank you so much for highlighting the holistic and the well-being effects of music and how we can use it in our everyday lives, through resistance, through community building. So thank you so much for being part of this space. It was an honor to have this discussion with you.
Thank you so much for inviting me. This was a great space. I loved all the other interviews. I watched them all. Um, and yeah, thanks to everyone that's watching, and keep sharing music, keep the tradition alive, and learn about music from other cultures and the history. There's so many things that we need to maintain alive.
Thank you so much, Natasha. And before we go, please let all the people listening on live, where can they find you?
Sure. So my Instagram is Natasha R Music. You can find me there, and you can find a lot of stuff on my website, natasharoldan.com, or if you want to pronounce it in the English way, natasharoldan.com. um, yeah, and you can find my music on Spotify, and I hope I can share more music with everyone soon.
Thank you so much, Natasha, and thank you so much for everybody that watched. It is our end of the Artist Holistic Wellness series for 2022, and we'll catch you all next year. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.